Here you are, a typical day. You get up in the morning, eat breakfast. You gotta rush to work, into that traffic, and away you go. You get to work, you and your colleagues have your various assignments. You're up to lunchtime. You go out with a friend or two, you come back, oh, you'll never get done with this task. You come home, fighting traffic again. Now, you are fairly skilled at your job. You have a nice resume. You know how to earn a living. And there are many things in life that also occupy your time. Perhaps your children, your hobbies, pondering where you're going to go for your vacation. Friends call, plan a weekend, maybe a card party, movie, whatever. Okay. You walk, you run, you have your holidays. And occasionally, you begin to think, what do I really know about myself? Oh, I know what's on the curriculum vitae, the resume, but what else? What else? And of course, where did that question come from? No one whispered it in your ears, as far as I can see, but it came up. And what you're suddenly realizing is you're trying to track down here the most elusive of subject matters. There are all kinds of sciences, from astronomy and botany, to chemistry and engineering and things like that. And yet, we can pick that up and we can put them down. Our lives can be untouched by them. And this is not a disgrace upon these truths, these scientific truths. It's just the subject matter is what it is. But you raise a different subject matter. You say, the most elusive, why, that's human nature. Not human nature as a baker or a candlestick maker, as a mother, as an athlete. No. What is it that makes human nature unique? Wow. Now you're starting to say, I'm going to be a scientist on human nature. What a task, huh? The most elusive of pursuits. And you start to notice some interesting things. That while you're thinking this, you can be even reflecting on your thinking. Matter can't do that. Isn't it interesting that we can monitor our thoughts as they're occurring? Wow, it's as if we were two people inside. How interesting. Now, we notice that also another curious feature is that we have all these amazing senses that put us in contact with the environment. But we also notice we have to be careful with them. If we touch something too hot, it hurts. If something's too bright, it hurts. If something is too dark, I can't see. If something is too heavy, I can't move it. So we notice that our senses, while they put us in contact with the different dimensions of reality out there, have certain restrictions, if you will, limitations. Now, usually those don't bother us. We just have to be alert to them so that we don't bruise ourselves. We don't want to strain our eyes or get burned or anything like that, or rupture a muscle because trying to push something too heavy. So we have to take it easy. But yet we notice something curious about the mind. Can't bruise the mind. Can't make anything too bright for the mind, too hot for the mind, too cold for the mind, too loud for the mind. There's something special about this mind stuff that doesn't have the limitations of the senses which feed it its data. We're not quite sure what that is, and quite frankly, it's probably too early to try really give it a strict definition yet. But we have the experience of it. And that's so important because we're noticing that in our science of human nature, we're sort of building the plane as we fly it. I mean, I can go to an encyclopedia and read all about astronomy. I can visit the Shed Aquarium in Chicago and discover all about the underworld of the oceans. But I can't run off and say, I'm going to go to this house and this is where all human nature is contained. I'm the house. I'm the prairie. I'm the field that I have to investigate. And the very tool that I use is my own mind. And it sounds, well, it's so subjective. And yet, no, we can be objective about our subjectivity. Oh, wow. Because we're not trying to figure out my own idiosyncrasies, even though I don't have any. You have a lot, but we won't go into that. No, those are, little spin-offs, brands, flavors. I want to get at the very root that enables you to have an idiosyncrasy. Oh. So that I can make a statement that not only pertains to me in my investigation of your nature, but it has to pertain to you because I'm investigating human nature, which we all share in common. We're building a science as we make it. And so we start to do experiments. Because we just don't want to know things. Isn't that nice that, that's the Milky Way? No. We're discovering something very fascinating here. That as we perceive and obtain knowledge, we develop. We're richer for that experience. Self-perception, self-knowledge, self-development. They all go together, huh? So my awareness, as I scrutinize it, helps me grasp what I'm doing when I'm aware. And it makes my awareness better. More skillful. Ooh. Wow. I'm on a roll here. So, we're monitoring ourselves as we're experimenting with our nature. And we're discovering we have multiple facets. We have a body, and that body has various kinds of parts to it. And they're all connected, hopefully. They're attached. It's a wonderful word, by the way. And not only that, we realize that we can make different responses to reality. We don't have to respond the same way, even though that might even be more familiar and comfortable. We're more than just conditioned responses. No, we make something called choices. We can exert our energy. We can refuse if we wish. Wow. Matter doesn't seem to have that much flexibility, that much variety to it. When I put a rock down, it stays there for the most part, unless some kid comes along and kicks it. It doesn't decide, I'm walking over to that tree. It doesn't happen that way. So, what we're acquiring is what is called adjunctive knowledge. It means you learn it as you perform it. That's the only way. Self-knowledge through self-performance. Wow. And we know we can go to extremes. We all have done that. If I eat too much of certain foods, I'm liable to get certain results which are not very pleasurable. If I don't eat enough certain things, then likewise other effects will happen. If I don't get enough rest, I can play with my sleep requirements and discover, whoa, they change as I get older in my environment, what time of the season it is. All that affects. Interesting. Taking notes. I realize it's fun sometimes to even exercise. It's a strange concept for most people, but I'm building up a repertoire of axioms, facts, propositions, postulates. Interesting. I'm building my science of human nature. And I'm testing it. I'm verifying it. I'm watching what works, what does not work, because actually, why keep it if it doesn't work? Correct? So here we are, moving along. Wow. Someone tells me something. Okay, I'll try it out. See what works. If it's beneficial, I'll keep it. If it's not, I'll figure out why isn't it. This person seemed to recommend it. Why didn't it work out? Did I do it the wrong way? Wrong time? I'm noticing there are contingencies and circumstances sometimes with what I do. And then I begin to understand how to, as it were, discover my interaction with reality. Sometimes we call it relationships, associations. And there again, a whole new dimension of my nature opens up to tell me what it means to be personable, what it means to be impatient, and so on. Wow. And I notice too, it's peculiar about my mind and my body, that if I repeat something often enough, it starts to get easier. At least some things do. And let's give it a name. We'll call it habit. Habitus. And that's the essence of a habit, is to make it easier as things go. And two, I notice sometimes that I can get sort of caught up in what I'm doing, and I think I've got all the answers all wrapped up in this approach, and someone comes along and says, hey, did you ever try that? What? You mean there's another way? I was at a Zen monastery once in Japan. And I was the only American in there. Everybody else was Japanese. There were about 50 people. We were to be there about 5 days. It was a silent retreat, and you were to meditate like 7 times a day. They were really a little leery of me because they wanted experienced meditators. And I'd only been with Swami about 13 years, so I was pretty green yet. So we started out and we went to meditation, and they would only let you meditate about a half hour max. Then you had to get up and walk around, do the Kabat-Zinn approach out in the East Coast. Watch your footsteps and say, oh, that's okay, I'm learning something. I wouldn't call that meditation, I'd call it contemplation, walking contemplation. But anyway, that's beside the point. Then we went to lunch. That was when the fun started. I was in a very tranquil mood. So I was in no rush to eat, and I wasn't particularly hungry because you just sit in your butt all day, So I'm eating, and everybody else. I thought, what these people? Everybody was like that. I stood out because I was just going. And they came around for seconds in about 2 minutes. And they were very upset because I wouldn't accept seconds because you didn't eat fast enough to get the seconds. Yeah, that's the feeling I had. This lasted for 2 days. and they decided I should eat by myself in the kitchen. Because I was disturbing the community. Serious.
You're
This is
such
what
a
happened.
troublemaker. That's really
And you guys
crazy.
can talk.
So this is what a. Oh, I was taking notes down. This is really fun to watch this. Wow. So then you were assigned to certain karmic labor. I said, oh, this should be fun. What are we going to do? I was handed a feather duster, and I was told to dust off a portrait about this height for 20 minutes. What? I didn't say anything. You're not allowed to talk. I said, this is crazy. I'll get this done in 3 seconds. So I carefully went up and around, and then I tested it. No dust. I watched everybody. They kept repeating and repeating. I said, this is ridiculous. So I quietly excused myself and did breathing practices for 15 minutes. They didn't like that either. What I'm getting at. Sometimes, in our study of our human nature, certain things seem to be very, very defined. I won't say rigid. And, even though you can get to the same end, perhaps not so rapidly, that's not quite acceptable. One other thing, too, they had the napkin wrapped in a particular fold. It's quite complicated. And they expected you to put it back in there. Napkins? So I'm looking around. How did she do that? It wasn't working. Well, I'm just going to experiment. Hey, I did it! And the guy came over. I didn't do it the right way, even though I got it to where it should be. So he unwrapped it and put it the right way. And gave me a dirty look and walked away. I loved it. It was a wonderful experience. Davy did it too. She lasted longer. Oh, gang. Let's put this aside. What I'm trying to say, hey, you're all scientists. You ask the question, why? That's a scientific question. You're provoked by reality. You can't help it. You want to know. You might not have all the precision a PhD might have, but both of you have the fundamental urge. He's just made it a little more sophisticated. You really are scientists. And you're fascinated with the knowledge of what makes a human being human. Because it's not a theoretical quest. Could be, but that undermines it to some extent. This is truly an adjunctive knowledge. It's a practical knowledge. It's something that as you gather it, it transforms you. You go out for a walk. You huff and puff. After a few weeks, you can walk faster, stronger, longer. What have you done? You've transformed yourself. Because there's something about the human entity that as it works upon something that agrees with its nature, it gets better and stronger. And if you do something that disagrees, you get weaker and poorer. That's the way we're built. Unless we understand the order of our nature, we're not going to get very far. And we have this imperative urge within us to know, to know, to know, to know. To understand life, to relate to life, to enjoy what life can yield to us, and to share it with our friends. That's the only path that I think really exists. The path of humane fulfillment. And sometimes it's spelled Y-O-G-A. That's how yoga began, gang. It's not some kind of specialized, esoteric tradition. No. This was developed over centuries. Mostly by people who lived in caves. But you don't have to have Patanjali to be a yogi. You don't have to read the Upanishads to understand that there's something more than just material existence. Your own natural quest to know yourself is the foundation of all spirituality. What direction you take it, that's up to you. But if you keep a certain practical eye on things, then you say, is this beneficial? So there's no need to have any fears, any kind of checking in with the authorities. No. That's a different approach, but it's not the natural approach. And so people wonder, well, what do I do? Start learning about yourself. Oh, that seems so trite, so pedestrian. It is for a while. Then it gets subtle. And so yoga gives you a few tools here. Hey, try breathing. Oh, wow. What, you never heard of that. And suddenly you discover that, my God, I can kind of get a little edge on my moods. Try postures. Ooh, my body feels better. I have a little more energy. Oh, wow, what are you doing to yourself? And suddenly you realize you can reverse entropy. The more you use your car, the more it wears out. The more you use your mind, you'll never wear out. Either from lack of use or too much use. Can't. There's something about you that the more you use it, the more you gain. Now really think about that. How did you get where you are today? Because you applied yourself. And you were cognizant enough to remember what you were doing. So you didn't have to start learning how to tie your shoes every morning when you put them on. You remembered. That memory is so important too. It's your archives, living archive. You can reach for it and hey, now you can use it. Something new comes along, you compare it. This is interesting. You don't have to dismiss it, condemn it. No. What is it? You have enough common sense and sensitivity by now to recognize if this is danger or this is just kind of peculiar, whatever this is. So you want to gradually work your self-knowledge into the world so that the world doesn't appear as a threat to you. And it doesn't mean you're so naive that you don't acknowledge there can be dangers in the world. Sure, but you're smart enough to know that and to recognize them before they surround you. Again, what is that? That's the path, the humane path. If something Patanjali doesn't agree with you, put it aside. You're not here to honor the writings, you're here to honor the subject matter, you. Because that's what it is. It's an explication of who you are, as far as it can go. And it hasn't gone all the way yet. There are many ways we can fill it in with the perennial philosophy of the West. You just watch. So, if you don't indoctrinate people too early, they'll actually like their life. They realize they have an inheritance here that's undisclosed. Ooh, it's passively hidden. We got to bring it out. Yeah! And that's what makes life interesting. You are essentially creating yourself. And the irony is, you already have everything you need, but you don't have it in time and space. It's hidden within. And the more you bring out from that resource, the more you give a radiance to life that transfuses your work, your associations, your ambitions. Too often we set limits on ourselves before we understand who we are. Oh, I can't do that. And then hopefully as you continue in your journey to self-knowledge, you begin to realize, oh, yeah, I don't need to accede to that. I'm not trying to be a rebel. It's just that I realized that was a limitation. At best may have worked for a while, that immature stage of mine, but I don't need that anymore. Eventually you don't have to hold your children's hands when they cross the street. They can do it by themselves. So this knowledge that we acquire, in a sense, is our own self-training. We're making ourselves the astronauts of the spirit. We're building the rocket ship, which is our body and mind. And like any rocket ship, you finally have to jettison the fuel container. That's our body. One day we go beyond the body. Because we have galaxies to explore that can't be seen by the senses. But within we have another sense that has no limitation. That inner self-awareness that has all the eyes, the ears, the feelings that are so narrowly put, unfortunately, in our body. But the body then becomes the symbol of what we can do. So we actually have a double life. And that's why Swami used to say we're citizens of two worlds. The world here, the world within that goes beyond the here. But we can't get there right away. We don't even know if it exists, which is a healthy, truthful proposition to hold on to for a while. Let's see if it exists. And gradually we discover, through the immateriality of our mind, there's more than matter. There's something that's invincible, that doesn't have the ravages of matter, the limitations, wow. And yet it's all here. That's the humane path. And each of you have to write the script your own way. Borrowing principles here and there, sharing experiences. Yeah, I remember I used to feel that way in meditation too. Yeah, So we share. We're on the journey together. Don't make it harder than it is, gang. And don't make it faster than it is. You're moving along at your rate. You're steering. You're at the helm. And you're going through the navigable waters. At nights there are no stars even to guide you. So you have to go to your inner compass. What feels right? Okay, test it out. So, you will gradually realize that I don't need the world's approval for my charting. I I don't need to check in with any minister or government official to see if it's orthodox. Yet I can recognize where people are at. And it doesn't have to upset me, get me angry or impatient or, supercilious. No. We're all moving, but we're not all moving with the same directions, the same pace, the same emphasis. Huh? And some things that we couldn't understand at 25, we're shocked to discover at 40 how obvious it is. It takes a while before we get it. And so we're not here to proselytize. We're not here to convert. No. By your own demeanor, the way you approach life, people pick up on it. People notice. Not just the way you walk down the street, but the way you relate to others. Because in a sense, we're all learning from each other. Not just to confirm that we're right, no, but to be enriched. Community is important, especially while you're striving. Later, you can leave the community once you're mature enough. Not in the sense of abandoning it, no, but in the sense of now. There's a different phase of life you're leading. But each of us has to perhaps arrive at that at a different phase too. And so you can, in a sense, live a tranquil hermit life in the city. Why not? You don't have to go to Mount Athos or St. Catherine in the Egyptian desert. No, you can do it here. Because you carry your cave of meditation within you. You can resort to it anytime you want. You can be at peace among all the hustle and bustle of the Christmas shopping. So, I welcome you to continue your experiments, to just reflect, don't condemn yourself when you make mistakes. Hey, oops. Do you really want this? Just, a little friendly interrogation. Helps. And gradually you'll discover you've got all the tools. You don't think so at first. You'll have doubts and hesitations and the turbulence of life will at times. Okay. We all have gone through that, and it won't go away. You have to change. Huh? Yeah. Your attitude, your perspective. Oh! And the fact that you've got a power within that can be very strong in its tranquility if you want it to be. Make it. Enforce it. Don't give up. Did you ever read the poem Invictus? You ought to. Okay, now we built our science. Now what? Well, we can sell it. No, you can't do that. Science is not a scary word. Come on. It comes from the Latin scientia. Ordered knowledge, that's all. Understanding the cause and effects of things. As best you can, as best as the subject matter will allow it. And the interesting thing about our subject matter, it goes on and on. We keep learning new truths all the time. Perhaps correcting some, expanding some. When Swami Rama walked into that Meniger Foundation, those poor guys, they thought they were the cat's meow. Huh? They had their PhDs and their grants. They knew what human nature really was. And then he walks this guy and shatters them. Yeah. And they all lacked the courage to pick up the gauntlet that he threw down. You don't, you pick it up. He's sharing it with you through all of us. Huh? And each of you have to pick it up by yourself and say, okay, how far can I take it? I'm going to go all the way. But I'll do it as a human being, not as some spiritual angel. When people will talk about me one day, they'll say, she was a wonderful human being. That's what you want to do. Because that's the only thing that'll get you there. Anything else misses the trip and you'll come back. Groundhog Day again. Here we go. Okay, I've shut up. I mean, I've talked a lot. I should shut up now. Oh, I just had to do this. It's been on my mind for a while. I've been watching some of you and talking over. And I run some of this past David and Denny Bengstrom just to get a feel for it. And I thought about it. But I hope I can get across for you to see. It's your human nature. It's all there. You don't have to add a thing. This is the field of endeavor. Huh? Develop this field and the angels will come. That's it. You don't have to worry. And we're all here to help. Good. So now let's meditate.